Big Hits WBTC, that is CCR, Fortunate Son. And we are fortunate at 8:30 to have on our 8:30 High Beam this morning Dr. Tim McKnight as we talk with the doc. And this morning's talk with the doc is being brought to you by Mako's Pharmacy at 240 East 3rd Street in downtown New Yorksville. Mako's Pharmacy, your local pharmacy with a caring and knowledgeable staff focused on your health and wellness. Hey, good morning. Good to have you in here.
Good morning. Thank you. You too, Brad.
You're looking thin.
I'm trying to look thin. I've needed to lose a few pounds, and I've done pretty well this last week. So.
Congratulations. That's always a challenge.
I've been thinking about my metabolism.
I thought so. And we should think of our metabolism. First of all, I guess we're going to talk about how we can raise that, right, and make it greater. And what is it? We think of it as going faster or something, and I guess that's a pretty broad definition.
That's a good way to look at it. I think a lot of people think of it that way. And I hear this term all the time. Your metabolism is slow, or my metabolism is slow, or it's high. And people, I just want people to understand what that means, because really metabolism is about taking the stored energy that you have in your body and burning it as fuel and doing something with that energy. One of the byproducts of that breakdown of that energy is heat. So heat generation. So people that are always cold, you could kind of suspect that their metabolism is slow because they're not generating heat. They're not burning that energy that they're storing very well. So, but there's a couple really important components of this. And there's a couple ways to look at it, but a real simple way to look at metabolism is look at somebody that's got a really high metabolism, somebody that's able to eat, say, 5,000-6,000 calories a day and not gain weight, or even higher. And then somebody who can only eat 1,000 calories a day, and they're struggling to maintain their weight. So those are the two ends of the spectrum. And the individual who can burn a lot of calories, if you think of who that would be an athlete, someone, an NBA player, a football player, somebody performing at a high level with a lot of exercise. So what do those individuals look like? Why are they able to do that? Well, there's two things. Number one, they have a muscle mass. They have a large muscle mass. And muscle is the best tissue for burning fat and for burning energy or creating this increased metabolic rate. So the more muscle you have, the faster your metabolic rate will be, and the higher you can burn that energy to use it. And unfortunately for most of us, though, from the age of 30 on, we lose anywhere from 3 to 4 or 5% of our 1 to 3% of our muscle mass every decade. So by the time a man is a senior citizen, he's lost 30% of his, optimal muscle mass, unless he does something about it. And of course, we can talk another time about how you can maintain that muscle mass, but you can maintain your muscle mass well into your 70s and 80s. So it's just a matter of training to do it.
Well, we see these triathletes who are 80 years old, and they obviously have done that.
Absolutely. And it's understanding what your body needs to be able to do that, and how to train and how to eat. So obviously the muscle mass is where you really burn that energy, and the more muscle you have, you'll see this. You'll see these big, stocky, muscular guys, and not necessarily thin, but muscular men or women, and they do tend to be the ones you see in the wintertime with just a light jacket on or a t-shirt. They're making a lot of energy. It doesn't mean that they're ideal body weight, because the other half of the equation is how many calories do you put in.
Yes.
But they're burning a lot of energy. They have a high metabolic rate. The other key component to having a high metabolism is there's a part of your cell called a mitochondria where all the fuel is burned. You take fat and you break it down and you burn it and you create energy. And that energy and that fuel fuels the cell. It's called ATP. And the byproduct of that energy being combusted or burned is heat, water, and carbon dioxide. So people that are sitting at rest and they're just burning, they have a high metabolism, have a large muscle mass, and they have a lot of mitochondria, because the mitochondria can really burn that fat well. So how do you get that mitochondria? Very simple, cardiovascular fitness.
Okay.
The more you run and the more you get that heart rate up to an ideal level for an extended period of time, the more you're telling your body, hey, I'm going to be burning right through all this sugar that I've stored in my muscle and liver, and within a half an hour, I'm going to need to start burning fat. And I'm going to push you, cell, to your highest limit. And so you better get really good at burning the fat that I have stored as energy. And as you train you to do that, you'll be able to do it more effectively, and your metabolism will go way up. So that's how these athletes why their metabolism is so high. Why, if you shake their hand, they're probably going to always be warm, right? Because they're just generating so much heat. So those are probably the two most important things that we can do for our metabolism. Now, when it comes to muscle, we have different types of muscle. We have slow twitch muscle, which is for cardio and endurance. We have fast twitch muscle, which is for the rapid movement and the strength gain. So in the fast twitch muscles are the ones that tend to get bigger with exercise. So you start doing weightlifting and your muscles get bigger. The slow twitch muscles are the ones that really ramp up that mitochondria, and they can really burn fat effectively. So those are the muscle types need to be also remembered. But maybe a few other things that can increase your metabolism to a smaller degree. Number one is thyroid. People with low thyroid tend to be cold. They tend to have difficulty in losing weight. They tend to have dry skin, brittle nails. Women especially will lose a lot of hair and wonder if they're going to go bald. I mean, it's really interesting. If they optimize their thyroid, usually those conditions stop. So a lot of people look at that first, like, oh, give me thyroid because I'm low. And now I'm going to increase my metabolism. I'll be able to lose weight. Well, not if you don't have a big muscle mass, not very well. Not if you're not doing something to get your heart rate up. And I'm not talking about sprinting and running in 5Ks. I'm talking about every day doing a little bit more than what you've been doing, because it's a slow process. So that's one other thing that you can do, is to make sure your thyroid is optimized. Also, when you're doing these exercises and you're getting plenty of sleep, you're going to make, whether you're a man or a woman, you're going to make optimal testosterone levels and optimal estrogen levels. And men think of testosterone, but men also need estrogen, and estrogens are really good for their heart and their brain and all the blood vessels. When women start to lose estrogen at menopause, they put this weight on right around the belly. That's the reason for that menopausal weight gain. It's not that they're eating too much or they're not exercising. It's a drop of estrogen. Well, how do you increase your estrogen? Well, you can have it checked and you can replace it safely, but you can also go to the gym and exercise and maintain your muscle mass, do some cardio, and that will help you increase your metabolic rate. So all those things are critical. Now, the other flip side of this is, well, what do most people turn to when they want to increase their metabolism, right? Where do they go? Well, you go to a health food store, you go to a pharmacy, and you'll take maybe something that says it claims it increases your metabolism. Those things don't work. I mean, if you take a weight loss pill, which basically in the 60s and 70s were stimulants, like caffeine, and a lot of those weight loss pills do have some type of a stimulant like caffeine in them now, and people don't realize what they're doing. A couple cups of coffee a day will do the same thing, right. But all it does is it increases your heart rate, maybe from a resting heart rate of 70 up to 85. Well, technically now your heart's beating 10, 15 times a minute faster. So it's working a little harder. So it's burning a little bit more calories. But when it comes to thinking something like that's going to help you lose weight, there's no way. You're going to be really disappointed. So it goes back to, eating healthy. It goes back to exercise, both strength and cardio, and probably getting ample rest, because when we're resting, we're able to make those hormones well. We're able to make growth hormone, which is another really important hormone that declines with age. But that, in a nutshell, is how we ramp up our metabolism and why it's so important.
This was the part of the show where we always go back to eating healthy and getting some exercise.
I wish it was more complicated. I wish it was easier. But, you see people in the gym, you walk in the gym and you see somebody in their 60s or 70s that they just look incredible because they've paid the price to keep the muscles strong, to do some cardio. And again, this doesn't have to be extreme, but it should be gradual and it should be consistent. And the people that look the best are the ones that paid the biggest price. They're doing it 5 or 6 days a week, and they've done it consistently.
You will hear people say, "Oh, it's my heredity. I don't have a good metabolism or something." Whatever you're working with, you can improve, though.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's the message of Fit for Life. Because for a number of reasons, my exercise patterns had diminished since the pandemic began, and then after the surgery, it was down to nothing. Well, now I'm going back up into ramping that up. This morning, I was trying to get here on time, and my time on the treadmill was shortened. I ran a little bit harder, but I didn't go quite as long.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, it's just the way it is sometimes, right? So, but the key is that you start where you are and you keep pushing. And but I think that's just absolutely crucial. And we can talk about the other side of the equation, because a lot of people want to know how to lose weight. Yes, increase your metabolism, but the flip side of this, well, what about the energy input going in, and how do we optimize that? I mentioned before when I just walked in that in the last week I've lost 9 pounds.
Yes.
And some of it's water weight, but a lot of it's understanding metabolism and understanding the food side of the equation. And it takes some discipline, but it can be done. So, that'd be another topic for another week. But I just want people to understand what that term metabolism means, and that you can increase your metabolism at any age. A nursing home resident can increase their metabolism by exercising. Well, there are studies that show that exercises increases their muscle mass gains, improves their quality of sleep, improves their balance. So none of us are not capable of making improvements here.
Very good. Hey, thanks a lot, and we'll work on that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Dr. Tim McKnight here on our Talk with the Doc segment on the 830 High Beam, brought to you this morning by Mako's Pharmacy, offering their customers and community free assistance with comparing and selecting a plan based on your specific prescription needs. Call Mako's Pharmacy 740-922-5400.